All right, yeah, let's just start with the creative mind training. I'm really happy that you're here. It's great to say, come together today, just being present, just being present. No more is asked, no more is needed. You decided to expose yourself to this, and wonderful, great, absolutely. And to this, I mean not what you see, of course. So today, the focus is just like the lesson of today with the Course in Miracles is like, this can't be it. There's something else I can see, and I'm determined to see that and see beyond what I say normally see, but it's not normal any longer. So in fact, we're coming into an idea of vision, an idea of using a spiritual eye instead of anything else. And so we come to that in different ways. So one of them will be to read the lesson of today, and so that is full of what I'm talking about, and it would be a great basis to start with that. So we might as well do that. Like we read the lesson, since you have to remember it every 20 minutes, 25, or have to, but that's being asked, like, give it a try to remember this during the day, just about every 20 minutes. Just remember the line. Can you remember it right now? Well, I just lost it. Oh, well, let's pick up the book and read it once more. So we're going to read it once more to have it fresh in our memory. And yeah, there will be more related to this. So it's going to be like there's something revealed today that is going to be very practical and very, say, useful when you find yourself in a transformational process. And I'm not kidding. It was really like, oh my God, it's so beautiful how that is being shown to share. And so I love to take time to do that after we read the lesson. So that certainly is one thing. And then there's also a possibility to see, in fact, how this practicality in your transformational process. The practicality is what I mean is like you find yourself in all kinds of situations, and you can use those situations to take another look at yourself, or to judge yourself, or to stay in it and allow it to change. Now, this is exactly what I'm going to talk about later, which is only to be recognized in you. It's not difficult, but it's just very intense, which is wonderful. It doesn't matter. So finally, you can allow yourself to stand still. Now let's see what this lesson will tell us. And yeah, it's 27th of January. Yes, it is lesson 27. I will read the first paragraph and you can jump in whenever you feel like it. That mostly arranges itself. Lesson 27. Above all else, I want to see. Above all else, I want to see. Today's idea expresses something stronger than mere determination. It gives vision, priority among your desires. You may feel hesitant about using the idea on the ground that you are not sure you really mean it. So here's a relief. This does not matter. Okay, luckily. Whew. I can just say it. I don't necessarily have to totally mean it. The purpose of today's exercises is to bring the time when the idea will be wholly true a little nearer. Yeah, the purpose of today's exercises is to bring the time when the idea will be wholly true for you a little nearer. Okay.
There may be a great temptation to believe that some sort of sacrifice is being asked of you when you say you want to see above all else. You may become uneasy by the lack of reservation involved. Add, vision has no cost to anyone. If I fear of loss still persists, Add further, I can only bless. Vision has no cost to anyone. If fear of loss still persists, add further, I can only bless.
It can only bless, yes.
L'idée d'aujourd'hui a besoin de nombreuses répétitions pour apporter le plus grand bénéfice. Elle devrait être utilisée chaque demi-heure au moins et plus souvent si possible. Tu pourrais essayer toutes les 15 ou 20 minutes. Il est recommandé de fixer un intervalle de temps bien défini pour utiliser l'idée à ton réveil ou peu après et d'essayer de t'y tenir pendant toute la journée. Cela ne sera pas difficile à faire, mais si tu as engagé une conversation ou est occupé autrement à ce moment-là, tu peux toujours te répéter une courte phrase sans rien déranger.
The real question is, how often will you remember? How much do you want today's idea to be true? Answer one of these two questions, and you have answered the other. You will probably miss several applications, and perhaps quite a number. Do not be disturbed by this, but do try to keep on your schedule from then on. If only once during the day you feel that you were perfectly sincere while you were repeating today's idea, you can be sure that you have saved yourself many years of effort.
Vision is a great part in this, vision, spiritual vision. And it says here, like, okay, so that can come with an idea that there's a sacrifice being asked, that something is asked of you to not do anymore, to not use anymore, that is actually precious to you. So the reason for you to do this and to fully, with full confidence, express this might be, say, with some consideration at least. And that's perfectly all right. Like, there's no pressure, because you don't learn by pressure. We've seen that in the world too. It's like you cannot really learn under pressure. If it is learned by heart, if it is learned, say, in all relaxation, it's easier. It comes easier to you. Now, with spiritual vision, it will come to you when you're not afraid of it, when you don't feel pressured to receive it, when there is the idea of sacrifices being, say, evaporated, or when there's no fear connected to it at all anymore. Like, it will never induce fear. We'll come to that in some of the expressions that are related to this. Now, when I was reading this, like this morning, something came up. It's like there's something like vision, like seeing. Above all else, I want to see, but I'm seeing now too with my eyes. I see, in fact, what I'm thinking. We saw this the other day. Is like I'm responsible for what I see, and I literally receive what I give. I exactly I give what I receive, and that is, say, that's one way to deal with this. So what I'm actually saying here is this: it's like that seeing is not the only thing that's going on. It's like, sure, you get your reflection, there's your perception of your, say, objective reality as you see it yourself, like different objects, you in a body walking around here on planet Earth, and with a location in the time, and all of this. So you know this story. So that now something happens. We're doing these exercises. Something happens, like the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks are over in this. So there has been, say, a confrontation with a great undoing has been taken place, even though it seemed like little things. But in fact, if you still pick up the book to read it and do the lessons, if you're still, say, committed to doing it, something really occurs. There's not much asked, but like today, every 20 minutes you try to think about it. It's like, okay, above all else I want to see. I want to stay in that remembrance, that's actually something that I want to mean. I actually want that. I actually want that to be true for myself, but I'm not sure if I'm there, but at least I'm going to repeat this and see what happens. Now, with the development, you could say, of this spiritual vision, what is being offered here, that actually is changed. Like in the Blue Book, the word spiritual eye, for instance, is not there. So they changed that. But in the Urtext, like the Urtext manuscripts, there is the spiritual eye. Now, what does that matter? You can ask. It's like they're using it not many times, but very specifically, they're actually using the spiritual eye. And why I love that is this. It's like, for instance, what is being said is, and I'll show you some more later, but what is being said is this, that with the spiritual eye, you see the inner altar. Like you see the inner altar. And what is the inner altar? It's in fact a place where you remember. You remember there is something as a remembrance of your true essence, of your source. Like there is something there, like just like that. And this is happening whether you play out your human life or not. But actually, you know that place is there. And this is so great if you can see this, and that's why I can't wait to share it with you, because I never got it this clear as it is now. It's like the spiritual eyes, that's one point of it. So the other point of it is, with seeing, you in fact are opening yourself to look right through the human experiences. Your experiences, your human experiences, you start to look right through it. Now, one of the things that is happening then is that it causes a deep intensity, like a real deep intensity. Like that can be total fear. It can be a feeling of being so lonely. It can be a feeling of deep abandonment, physical symptoms that seem to be like fatal, very intense. Now, this is really a sign, you could say, that your spiritual eye is opening. And it is not that you have to feel that, but it will come by itself. Don't worry. It will come. I speak from deep experience in this. Is like it will come. But don't misinterpret it. So then the human tendency is to see these intensities as, say, you're going to use it against yourself. It's like, I should have been somewhere else. I should have already gotten this. I should already be further in my spiritual development. I should do blah, 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 blah. So you have a certain idea about where you should be, instead of interpreting this intensity in the right way. Because this intensity is exactly where you should stop and stand. And I said it the other day as a dilemma. I brought it in as a dilemma in one of the talks of Master Teacher. It comes back too. It's like how can you escape this dilemma? You find yourself in time going through these intensities. You're doing everything that you could possibly do. It's almost like a Garden of Gethsemane. You pray and you ask God for help and nothing seems to change, and you still feel this intensity. Now, do you do something wrong? No, absolutely not. So it's like you're exactly in the place where something can happen. Now instead, and here's the important part, like this intensity is just there. You can, say, try to escape from it by, in fact, letting yourself be tempted to numb yourself in some kind of way, whether that is, well, you fill in the blanks. however you do that, however you distract your attention from yourself, however you do that. Everyone has his own ways of doing that. Watching your phone, endless scrolling on your phone, watching television, who knows what. So instead of using those distractions and those numbing, say, activities, or you could say a human way of dealing with the place or the things that you find yourself in, instead of that, you're going to stand still and not do anything. Staying it's like, okay, I'm just doing the practice above all else I want to see, or I'm just letting everything go continuously. I'm not holding on to any idea about what I think is going on here, or anything that I think I should do to get myself out of this. This is in fact what we got into yesterday too in our meeting. Like where you see, and even Thursday too, it's like that's all coming back now to this point where you see, stand still right there in that intensity. Let it take a couple of days for you to get through it. But when you are not, say, distracting yourself, but just feeling what you're feeling, going through it, no matter what, you find yourself in a different place when suddenly that's being lifted from you. And you see, oh my God, I can't believe it. Actually, something changed. Now this is in fact doing the work, you could say, doing actual transformational work. So every time that you've escaped from this exact intensity, or this way of numbing yourself, or overeating, or becoming angry at someone, or who knows what you do, instead of that, being still, standing still, allowing it to change, no matter how long it takes. Like, it doesn't matter how long it takes. But for sure, it has nothing to do with a person, a situation, or an event. It has not even to do with anything that you did. No, it's just that you start to open your spiritual eye. You start to open and say a new way of dealing with these intensities that you have not been aware of before. That's the huge change. Now, and it's like if you go totally through this change, if you stand still long enough, it will change, and it doesn't have to come back to you. It literally heals, and you're literally like free of it. Now that's really wonderful. So that will be shown in one of the, say, expressions that I sorted out in the text, and that I'd love to share with you right now. Because see, these things, there will be more that I can share, I can see that. But it's like these things should not be misinterpreted, because you cannot let yourself be tempted by self-judgment, or by, say, quitting your exercise, your practice, your meditation practice, or you're doing the lesson practice. If you quit, like, then you have to start over again. You still didn't learn what you actually could learn easily, even though it is extremely intense for a moment. But that's because you do something that you didn't do before. So it's like you open up a new gate inside yourself, where you can be yourself, finally free of that where you were always afraid to go through, or what comes up out of nowhere that you never went through. So that's really good to know. That's why I'm sharing it. And it's like to have it presented this clear is really amazing. Ready made for you. So here it is, the spiritual eye. So I have just a few expressions here, but they have exactly to do with this extreme discomfort, because that's a good word for it. It's an extreme discomfort. So the spiritual eye does produce extreme discomfort by what it sees. See, this spiritual eye is awake in you, and it sees right through the appearances. It sees actually what is going on. And in that, it comes to you in your awareness that you didn't actually see before. Now your eye is going to be opened, but that produces an extreme discomfort because you literally cannot do the things anymore the way that you were used to. Now, if you're afraid that something is going to happen that you don't like, then it would feel like an incredible sacrifice to undergo this extreme discomfort. But if you know that you can move through it, say, entering into something that will give you really something that's helpful to you, then you don't have to be afraid of it, or it won't feel like a sacrifice. I just wanted to make you getting used to it in that sense. Man forgets that this is not the final outcome of its perception. It is just the first moment. You think something is going on that you actually don't want, but you forget that it's not the final outcome. This discomfort is a temporal discomfort that will change. Like whether that's in 24 hours, in half an hour, or in 3 days or 4 days, then it should be done, like this. So it's not the end. It's not the final outcome of it. Because nothing that the spiritual eye perceives can induce fear. Then it will not induce fear. It will not cause fear. It will not initiate fear. No, it is actually the opposite way. It will take you out of fear. But since you're so used to fear, it can feel like a sacrifice or stepping into an abyss where you don't know where you end. The spiritual eye is a means for right perception, a miracle. So it's not a device for knowing. A miracle is a means for right perception. No, the spiritual eye is a means for right perception, a miracle, not a device for knowing. Knowing is of a different realm. So the other thing you can say then, is that it is a temporal device. So it's not that you look with spiritual eye forever. No, it's a temporary device. In fact, you carry it with you as soon as you become aware of a spiritual nature of you. So then it becomes immediately like the option, the alternative. It is with you in this form. And it sees, literally. It sees, and you are actually aware of that it sees. That's why you, feel maybe much more the resistance to what you're actually feeling. Because you're tempted, you're tempted to use your old, responses to the same situation or the same feeling, because these feelings will feel very familiar, even though they seem to be even more intense than ever. So you have a tendency to pick up the old ways of doing in order to, in fact, not feel it, what is going on. And then returning back to the same point before you know it. Anyone familiar with this? Probably. Yeah, absolutely. I do. I'm very familiar with going through these loops and then ending up in the same place. Okay, now I feel the same intensity. What am I going to do? Nothing. Sitting right here, recognizing that, yep, I'm the problem here. I'm the problem in the sense, I'm not going to solve this myself. I know that this is the place where something can happen. I'm not looking for any distraction or temptation to not feel what is going on. Now I'm staying right in it. I feel it totally. Now it can change. So that was the only thing that needed to occur. It's you had to feel it exactly this way. Yeah, but I still feel pain, or I still feel this depression, or I still feel this anxiety, or I still have no idea who I am. Wonderful, great. How do you know that you don't know? Exactly. So there is a spiritual eye in you that already knows, that sees it. That's why it's so frustrating. And that's why it's such like discomfort, extreme discomfort. It's like killing discomfort, but you stay right in it. Really great, isn't it? I'm really happy to hear this like this. And so also to open up, in fact, to the depth of the lesson of today, because it's literally what it says. You will see it in the, say, in the short summary that I made at the end of a little compilation related to the spiritual eye. And we're going to take a look at that now. Okay, so this was the introduction that I wanted to give regarding the spiritual eye. So today, just coming back to the assignment for today that was sent out to the participants here, it's like, in fact, visual proof of the way that you see, that you're seeing has changed. Like you might have taken something that might have changed in the way that you perceive. Something might have changed in the way that you feel about yourself or feel about your surroundings, or recognize what I said in the email too, is like more focused on happy smiles than on something else, or more, say, into the beauty of things, discovering in more detail the beauty of something and letting yourself be overwhelmed with that you never did before. It's like opening up to a more sensitive perception, you could say, is also part of this. That's why I thought this creative mind training is so helpful, because in fact you're opening up your eyes, but your being is being opened up. So that means you can suddenly, say, enjoy music like never before, or you can see a painting as if it is alive, and so on. Like there are certainly experiences that you recognize yourself to have, in which you see that, or your love for whoever you meet, even though you just met this person, is so overwhelming, because you start to become open for it, or you actually finally are able to love, to recognize the love that you are and that you recognize in whoever you meet. You're not afraid to open up anymore. You are okay with being completely vulnerable for just a moment, or something like this. So that changes, and that's beautiful to see that. So that was in fact then the assignment to show visual proof of that. Now this visual proof, I try to express and use that too in say in the presentation that I'm going to give now, and you see if you dive into it and let something come to you, an inspiration come to you, you come into a depth that is not of your own doing or making, but since you were open for it, now suddenly it can come to you. And that's exactly what happened to me this morning when I was reading the lessons. Like this opened up to checking out the expressions about the spiritual eye. How simple was that, but how revealing, how beautiful was that to see that there are some expressions I never heard about. And so something new is shown to me. Also how it works with the, what I shared with you, with the intensity of discomfort in this process, and not running away from it. So here we go. So this is the spiritual eye. The spiritual eye. Time is a sleight of hand, a vast illusion. Time is error. The true corrective procedure is the proper use of the spiritual eye. to accept the error temporarily, but only as an indication that immediate correction is mandatory. The spiritual eye depends on light. The spiritual eye is the mechanism of miracles. The spiritual eye perceives what is true. It identifies error as false or unreal. The spiritual eye perceives the altar within. With perfect clarity, it has perfect vision. Awakening the spiritual eye comes with a weakening of the investment in physical sight. The spiritual eye cannot see error. It merely looks for atonement. The spiritual eye does produce extreme discomfort by what it sees. Man forgets that this is not the final outcome of its perception. Nothing that the spiritual eye perceives can induce fear. The spiritual eye is a means for right perception and miracle, not a device for knowing. Above all else, I want to see, recognizing that what I see reflects what I think I am. I realize that vision is my greatest need. The world I see attests to the fearful nature of the self-image I have made. If I would remember who I am, it is essential that I let this image of myself go. As it is replaced by truth, vision will surely be given me. And with this vision, I will look upon the world and upon myself with charity and love. Okay, so that was the presentation, you could say. Let me see this. So you see the review of the, say, lesson 27. See, in fact, it comes down to starting to see, coming from a place of love instead of a place of looking for differences. Now we are looking for atonement, for the undoing of all the differences, for the undoing of all the old patterns, for the undoing of all old ideas. So you leave them for what they are. It's like a continuous, quick forgetting, you could say. Like holding on to no idea, just standing still, letting all the ideas drop right in front of you, just like that, just like that, just like that, just like that. And you think nothing happens, but the greatest thing happens. So that's the start of this moment together, and I think it is a great help to release any kind of ideas in relationship of with this idea of self-judgment. Like there's no need to evaluate your own process. but you have your spiritual eye with you that is actually looking, and you know exactly what you're doing. You become more and more aware of that you're looking for distraction, or that you're looking for, say, to make it comfortable, the discomfort, instead of sinking deeper in it, to make it total. So these things are extremely helpful. And say if you recognize it, then you also don't have to be afraid of it, or you don't have to walk away from it. That's specially. So it doesn't have to be any other than it is. I made it clear. All right. So now the non-public part is starting. So we're looking at the presentations for one thing, but actually I just want to share with you